Whew, lad. I just want to start by saying that because I think that's a very good summation of the last 2 days and my experience on the internet within the last 48 hours. um, wow. I was not expecting the response that I got, not just from you, JF, but from many of your viewers and a lot of people who now subscribe to me. I mean, yeah, it seems like a mixed bag of comments and stuff, but first of all, I really want to thank you for having me on your channel. Um, I really appreciate it, and uh, because of you, someone knows who I am now, so I really do want to thank you for that. And not only just that, but even taking my arguments into account. I think it's very easy to just dismiss a lot of arguments because a lot of the time there are people who don't exactly present it in the right way, respectfully, and, just agreeing to disagree. So I'm really glad that we can open up a discussion about this. So, on that note, um, after looking at after watching your video, I realized that there seemed to be a lot of assumptions being made, not just about me, but I guess just in general. Um, so what I wanted to do was clear those up and sort of clarify what I meant because I got a lot of feedback, um, saying a lot of things that didn't really make sense because that's not what I was saying. So I wanted to clear that up, and hopefully we can have a good little discussion here without all of the name calling and all of the telling me to go back to my country, which you guys know I'm from here, right? I'm from Maryland. Anyway, so I'm just going to be having a lot of fun with this. I'm going to be taking all of the points that I disagree with JF about and also the things that he seemed to misunderstand from what I was saying. I shouldn't say he, I should say you because this is for you, JF. So yeah, I'm just going to start the video and put myself in where I disagree. Also, I might be drinking some. I think that'll help a lot with my arguments. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this. Okay. Also, cut me some slack about the frickin' jump cuts, okay? I'm still really new at this, alright? So don't pretend like you guys didn't have jump cuts. Like really bad ones, like really jarring ones. Also, for some reason, people thought I was getting emotional. No, I wasn't emotional. I'm just passionate about what I think. Would you guys rather that I was monotone? Probably not. So, I don't know, whatever. Stop hating. So, this is going to be super, super informal. I'd like to have this more as like a conversation rather than just exchanging clips of videos and stuff. Like how you, I guess, live commented on mine. I'm going to try to do that, but I also want to make this more of like a nice conversation. So yeah, I'm not really going to be super formal or anything. I don't know. The only jump cuts that I'm going to even do are probably not going to be too jarring or anything. If they are, tell me. And this is going to be a long video, so I don't know, grab a sandwich, drink something, and feel free to like fast forward if you really want to. I mean, whatever. Yeah, okay. One more disclaimer. I haven't really slept in the last like 2 days because it's all been very anxiety. It's been causing me a lot of anxiety. Just, I mean, not even like whatever mean comments. No, just like getting recognized and like someone actually having a discussion with me. It's like, oh wow, I don't really want to seem like a total idiot. Um, so the reason that I'm telling you this is because I think it's this eye. It like weirdly looks smaller or something on this camera. Or it might just be that because I haven't slept, like my eyelid is all messed up. So I'm, just deal with my weird Picasso eyes, I guess. Yeah. So here is me clearing up exactly what the whole point of my first video even was. I was asking about how you would be able to implement an ethnostate. I'm reading. I take notes. You know what? Fuck it, I'm just gonna read. I was asking about how you would be able to implement it in a space like the US, in a place. Can't even read my own handwriting. In a place like the US or Canada. I wasn't talking about there being an ethnostate that people would be trying to enter. I'm very much aware that most countries in the world are ethnostates. Yes, I am very, very much aware of that, which is why the idea it does work. Like, it can work. My questioning and my whole line of reasoning was, what are you going to do in a place that's so, mixed like the US or Canada? How are you going to deal with people who are already here? That's what I was asking. And that's why I kept saying, where is my place in society? That's what I meant. Let's see. I never said I disagreed with there being an ethnostate. Sure, have one. Do it. Like, I want you to preserve your race. I want you to be able to flourish, and I don't want you to feel like you're being genocided. No, have it. It might actually, it would work, like I just said. No, I have no problems with that. I am very much against immigration of people who contribute nothing to society, people who don't pay their taxes, people who are hired by people because they can basically exploit their labor. Companies shouldn't be hiring illegal immigrants. As far as migrants, I don't believe that our doors should be open to just anybody. I feel very strongly about a border system that is very strict. It shouldn't just be that anybody can get here. So I would expect you to run your state as such. That's what I think, and that's what I would like the United States to be, to protect the citizens of it and flourish here. Because I think everyone can agree that as far as migrants and immigrants who don't plan to contribute anything, our country doesn't need them. They need our country. So, and yes, I can say our. I'm American. Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. Let's see. So I think I'm actually going to make a sign that says I wasn't talking about immigrants that aren't willing to assimilate, because JF, you tell me a lot of stuff based on the fact that you assume that I was talking about people who weren't willing to assimilate. I'm not talking about people who were forced a culture on them and they were refusing to accept it. I'm talking about people who came to this country, assimilated, had children, and now those children are citizens of the United States. What are you going to do about them? And just like everyone keeps telling me to go back to my country, yeah, sure, I could tell you to go back to Italy or France or Sweden or wherever. Just because your ancestors came on a boat here doesn't mean that you're not American. So I don't understand how you keep implying that I'm not. I'm American. I mean, that's not even up for discussion. I don't really care if you disagree because it's a fact. I am. Whatever. Do. He talks a lot about genes. La la la. So the other whole thing about what I was saying was that the idea of an ethnostate in the United States can't work right now with the United States in its present state of affairs, where there are people of all cultures here. That's what I'm saying, is I'm talking about the United States right now. How would you be able to implement successfully without violence and without a lot of deportations or things like that? How would you be able to implement that here successfully right now? And I do understand that at some point you do talk about a very long-term plan, and I agree with that. I think that if you find a pocket for yourself, and yeah, you have every right to exist as much as I do. So, yeah, I believe that the long-term plan would work if, let's say, for example, white people restrict themselves to only mating, breeding, and creating offspring with white people. You would be containing and preserving the white genes, and that's fine with me. I have no problems with that. People seem to think that I hate white people or like I don't want you to reproduce or something like that. I never said that. I completely disagree with that. I'm actually quite fond of white people, and I thank them for all of the things that they have done for humankind. But, yeah, I mean, a lot of people were quite offended by I don't even know what. So just, I'm telling you right now, no, I quite enjoy white people being around. I don't enjoy people who are white and who are actually racist telling me to go back to whatever. I already went over this. Anyway. So I wasn't even refuting the idea of an ethnostate. I should have been more clear, and for that I apologize, but blah blah blah. So yeah, there are plenty of people right now in the United States who are of other races. And they were born here, and they exude nothing but American behavior. So my question and argument was, if they're like you, and they were born in the US, and they think like you, what are your feelings towards them? Besides the color of their skin, what is different? And like I said, I understand the idea of preserving white genetics. Totally fine. I understand that. But my question is, what are you going to do about the people who are very well assimilated here and are as American as the next person? You can't just throw them out because they follow the culture of the United States and they're legal citizens of the United States. In no way are they a threat to you. So I just wanted to know how you would do that. And I know you kind of go into it, but I feel like there was a huge misunderstanding with what I said. Yeah, just don't jump down my throat again. I hope I cleared that up. I have no ill will against white people. I like them. All right. Hooray.
This is JF. So today we are reviewing a video by Brownie Wife Opinion. She asks questions for the alt-right, but she engages with the alt-right in a very respectful manner, and so I recommend that if you want to reward that kind of behavior instead of just denying facts and just insulting the alt-right, I would recommend that you go like her video. I think that even if you disagree with her, you will surely agree that she asks important questions, and I think that these questions need to be rewarded. And That's a very good video that she's put up. She has questions, and so let's answer them and let's hear what she has to say.
That is so nice. Thank you. Like, really, that's super nice. I think that was like a really cool introduction. If any of you were watching the stream and you heard JF's first introduction, that was thank you, Jay.
So no, you cannot take any human on this earth, make it a hard worker through imposing some sort of cultural norm, and expect that he will do as good as someone else, as the average person of a Western country, for example. There are people that are helpless. It's a sad reality. But think about it, brownie wife.
Okay, I agree. You can't make somebody into a hard worker who is not willing to become one. I wasn't arguing that. Again, I wasn't talking about migrants. I wasn't talking about people who wouldn't be willing to adapt the culture that is present. No, I'm not talking about migrants. I'm talking about the people who live here. I'm going to make my sign. Anyway.
And being able to provide for their whole families here and in India. And because of that, I'm really proud of my ethnicity. And
Oh, we have someone proud of their ethnicity. This is going to be good.
I said that I was proud of my ethnicity. And for some reason, through some ridiculous process of mental gymnastics, a bunch of people in the comments and stuff think that because I said I was proud of my ethnicity, they somehow believe that I said that white people shouldn't be proud of theirs. As I said in the beginning of the video, no, that's not true. I think everyone should be proud of their ethnicity, including white people. Just so many goddamn assumptions going on right now. I can't. If you're white, you have every right to celebrate your ethnicity. You should. Why not? Have pride in it. Like, no, I'm so sick of a bunch of white people having this white guilt for shit that they didn't even do. No, like, be proud. It's okay. You were born white. You didn't choose to be white, so whatever. Oh, and for the people all the way on the right, yes, hello. Yes, you should be proud to be white. I never said you shouldn't. You should celebrate your culture because you have a culture. So don't be super defensive about that and just don't make all these assumptions. I wasn't attacking you guys at all, so don't attack me.
really proud to be Indian. So in contrast, if you come from a culture that doesn't really appreciate any of that and it's not the norm to be successful or work hard, you probably won't be able to get very far. That's why
The thing is, you're trying to attribute every success to some form of culturally influenced behavior. You don't know that. There may be people who are bound to live in shit and surrounded by people who are shitty, and they live in a shitty country, and the country will always be shitty, and you don't know. Maybe there are people on this earth who are helpless.
I wasn't talking about them for the 20th time.
one should be independent, one should be able to defend themselves. I believe that we are all equal. So those are aspects of American society that really aren't reflected in Indian society, for example. Every culture has its, downside. I would like to think that I took the best of both, but because of that, I don't really belong in either. Because certain things that Americans might see as really positive, like being independent and being a woman who lives on her own or with her boyfriend, or has a job and is able to provide for herself and doesn't get married, that's not okay in Indian culture. And
That's fine. That's just signs that your genes, they prepare brains that are able to grab different things from the environment. Yeah, but you named "we are all equal" as being an American value. I think that some Americans would disagree. America is certainly not the land of equality.
vice versa. So it was very hard to explain to my friends growing up that I had to do basically anything that my family asked of me. It would be very hard to explain to my friends growing up whenever they would ask me why I had to do something. And the only thing that I would be able to articulate to them is, oh, my parents told me to and I have to. And once I got older, I realized and I was able to explain that it was the culture. Because
But it's not because you're able to develop these explanations that they are true. You don't know that it's the culture, as you say. You don't know if you have characteristics that have prepared you to be more attracted to American culture than you are, than other Indians are. You might just be someone born with an open brain and interest in the society that is America. And future will tell if that leads you to a successful life.
JF, I you even said that I believe. Wow. I said that I believe and you agreed that I believe. So where do you get I know from that? I just said that I believe. That's it. And I used India as an example because it's something that I'm familiar with. That's all. Like I said, I'm not from there. It's just something that I'm familiar with. I suppose I could have chosen Korea or Japan or Singapore or something like that, but or France, but yeah. So yeah, I fashioned this little sign because there's a lot of that going, that like I wasn't talking about immigrants, because I mean I was taught my culture by Americans and by my family, who my grandmother left India when she was 22. My mom and her sisters were born in Singapore. I don't talk to my dad's family. So the culture that I was instilled with is the culture that they brought, and also the American culture that I was born into and grew up with, because my parents willingly assimilated into the culture. So I'm not talking... Yes, there aren't people willing to assimilate. Yes, absolutely. Which is why you just said, like, black culture in America, it's very separate from white American culture or anything else. They don't want to assimilate within society, and that's their prerogative, whatever. But if you place a white child into that black culture and they grow up with that black culture, here, let me take this as an example. A white couple moves into a project in San Francisco where there's a ton of black culture. That's what people know, that's what people grew up with. The couple has a child. The child grows up in that society and is exposed to all of that. They grow up in that culture. They don't grow up in white American society. They're surrounded by black Americans, and they assimilate into that culture. Well, that child, when they're older, is going to basically, like, they will exude the traits of being part of black culture. I'm sure you've seen a ton of videos where there are like white women who tell people that they're black, like they tell black people that they're black, and they look like they're from the hood and they sound like they're from the hood, but the black person completely doesn't agree. They're like, no, you're not black. But you know, for all intents and purposes, like, just because her skin is white, her culture is very black. So I mean, anyway, okay. Okay. And yeah, sure, I can concede about the thing about genes because I don't know, but that wasn't what I was arguing. So
The more you go toward the hemispheres, the more you go toward the top or the bottom within the hemispheres, the more people are intelligent. And there's probably evolutionary reasons for this.
So your part about the hemispheres, all of that, have you ever considered that, okay, white people were not always white. White people at some point did not exist because we all migrated from Africa. And the places that there were resources and lots of food and lots of shelter and water and all of that, doesn't it make sense that the people who emerged from Africa and they moved to certain civilizations like the Indus River Valley, which turned into what is, you know, you can say Mesopotamia, the Indus River Valley, it kind of emerged into the Middle East / Southeast. So have you noticed that their societies were extremely like they flourished really well because they had resources, they had food and water, they had plenty of space to create food, and once those basic needs are taken care of, you can focus on other things, like learning how to make copper. I mean, that's a whole thing. Like, you know, you go from, okay, what is my next meal, to, okay, now that I'm fed, what else can I learn? So, yeah, it's no coincidence that, like, certain people in certain places have a higher IQ. Yeah, so I would agree with that, but at the same time, um, at the same time, uh, yeah, so I would agree that certain people have higher IQ, but that's because they were exposed to more resources. Think about the people you just said. People with lower IQ or intelligence, let's say in Africa. What's in Africa? How much, I mean, how much of it is plentiful? How much of it is fertile? How much of it has resources like food and water? So it doesn't, I mean, it sort of makes sense that because the first original people only had to think about food and water, they weren't able to evolve more. So yeah, okay, I can definitely concede that genetics has something to do with it. But at the same time, that's not what I'm talking about. So like I agree with your analysis of genetics and how human behavior and intelligence came to be. But that's not what I'm talking about. Okay, well, because they weren't always their separate states and separate places. At some point, there was a large group of people who migrated over there, and then they bred and they populated the place, and then they spread out. And eventually, if you spread out into a world that is kind of plentiful with lots of resources and stuff, you're probably going to start to not look like the people over there. I mean, that's sort of how it works. Yeah, so you migrate, and then you split up, and then you have a bunch of children, and then eventually, after probably many generations, they're not going to be like each other. They're probably going to be very different. So yeah. But if you want to talk about IQ, they all emerged from, they are all descendants of that first group of people who were able to adapt to the land, and who were able to not only meet their needs for food and water, but they could also learn different things, and yeah, learn, you know, all of the things after food. Oh, oh man. They're able to learn way more because their basic needs are taken care of, meaning that their IQ would increase because they would be more exposed and more able to discover things. So obviously, yes, if you have a plethora of knowledge, or like a plethora of opportunities to learn something in front of you, you probably will learn it. Therefore, you will probably be smarter, and you will probably reproduce and have children who you can teach this to, and they will also be smarter. So yeah, okay, sure, they all have, you know, similar intelligence in Europe, but yeah, it makes sense. But right now, like, yes, a Swedish person is very different from a French person, but okay, well, I'm okay. I'm not talking about people in the rest of the world. I'm not talking about the past. I'm not talking about the way that genes and IQ and culture are together or like connected. No, that's not what I'm talking about. So this is what I'm saying, is that there was a lot of miscommunication, and I guess because I didn't clarify what I was saying, there was a lot of you assuming of like you making assumptions about what I was saying, which is fair because I obviously didn't reiterate my point. So now I am telling you, I am not arguing about the origins of genes or the origins of behavior and how some people can teach their children better than others. No, I'm very much aware of the fact that we have evolved to a point where there are certain people who are much dumber than other people. So no, I get that.
As really positive, like being independent and being a woman who lives on her own or with her boyfriend or has a job and is able to provide for herself and doesn't get married, that's not okay in Indian culture. And
That's fine. That's just signs that your genes, they prepare brains that are able to grab different things from the environment. Yeah, but you named "we are all equal" as being an American value. I think that some Americans would disagree. America is certainly not the land of equality.
Americans can disagree with me. That's fine. They have the liberty to disagree because that's what America is, and that's fine. Okay, then name a nation that is. America is probably about the best that we're going to get when it comes to personal freedoms and equality.
To articulate to them is, oh, my parents told me to and I have to. And once I got older, I realized and I was able to explain that it was the culture.
But it's not because you're able to develop these explanations that they are true. You don't know that it's the culture, as you say. You don't know if you have characteristics that have prepared you to be more attracted to American culture than you are than other Indians are. You might just be someone born with an open brain and interest in the society that is America. And future will tell if that leads you to a successful life.
Born in Maryland with an open brain to American culture. Huh. I wonder why I'm interested in American culture, JF. Oh, right, I was born and raised in American society. It would be more of like what you're saying might make sense when it comes to, like, I don't know, like if I was interested in Japanese culture or something like that. No, I can't just automatically adapt. Like, I can't be Japanese. I can't adapt the Japanese culture. I can try to understand it and, appreciate it. But no, I'm never going to be culturally Japanese, but I am American. Hey, buddy, I'm hella successful. I own a car. Sort of. By the way, that was a joke. I'm very well aware that owning a car doesn't make you special. It's a joke. I have a very dry sense of humor. Yeah. I just have a feeling that someone's going to give me shit about it, so. Yeah, okay.
Indian, and because math and reading because education and art is so important to Indian culture, every day I had to be inside and do my multiplication tables from 1 times 1 all the way to 24 times 24. So while I was doing that, my friends would come to the door and see if I could go out with them or play or whatever, and I couldn't. And their reason for why can't you do it later was the only thing that I could think of was, well, I can't because my parents told me I couldn't.
So why did your parents tell you that? Is it possible that your parents had genes that have prepared them to be desiring of teaching and of imposing a strict education on their children? And what if other people in this world don't have those genetic characteristics? What if there are people in this world who are born such that they will never be able to teach 24 times 24 to their children?
JF, I agree with you. I do. I know that there are people who won't be able to teach 24 times 24 to their children. But I'm not talking about them. I am well aware that there are stupid people in the world. Some of your fans might not even know what 24 times 24 is. It's 576, by the way, just letting you know. That was also a joke. Anyway, my entire argument is not about people who will never be successful because they're stupid. I think I've reiterated that fact quite a few times now.
The other reason why I don't believe an ethnostate would even work is
So you say the other reason I don't believe an ethnostate would even work, but you've not given a reason yet. So that's your first reason that you're about to state. I didn't hear anything in what you said that indicates that an ethnostate would not work. For it to not work, you would have to demonstrate that implementing it will lead to its own destruction or something like this. But what you've been doing up to now is give your feelings about culture. All right, you have feelings about culture. Now what? Why would an ethnostate not work?
Okay, I guess I misspoke. I wasn't trying to say that it wouldn't work outright. I have already conceded that yes. I mean, I'm not even conceding. I knew that while making this video. Yes, there are ethnostates in the world. Of course there are. Yes, they exist. I didn't say that it wouldn't work. The argument that you guys were having on the stream with Richard Spencer and Styx and Sargon and everybody, you guys were arguing about making, let's say, the United States into an ethnostate. I'm saying that it couldn't work in the United States at the present time with the present state of affairs. I wasn't even refuting the idea of an ethnostate at all. I should have been more clear. I just feel like my answers got so, like, there were so many assumptions that were made, and I feel dumb for not clarifying my points, and it just, like, I made an entire video about it, and unfortunately a lot of it was misconstrued, and hopefully this will make up for that.
There's no problem with the idea of diversity in the ethnostate. You see, this is a typical thing that I see on the left. They would want the alt-right to be more porous than they truly are. There's no problem having a country with people of different beliefs. Part of this diversity is what leads to cultural advancement, and to technological development, and to interesting exchanges. Why was diversity earlier not a problem, and suddenly in an ethnostate it would be a problem? It wouldn't. Is diversity of ideas and cognition in Japan a problem? No, it is not. Clearly it is not, because the country works.
That's not what I was talking about. I agree with what you just said. I don't believe that physical diversity is anything. I believe in the diversity of thought and ideas. That's what I believe. I don't think, like, how will a country flourish just because you all physically look the same, or I'm sorry, if you all physically look different? How would that flourish if it's just populated by a bunch of stupid people who are of different races? Like, no, that's not what I want. I'm not part of the left. I would say that I'm very centrist. And I get this. I understand now why there were a bunch of people who told me, who were, like, accusing me of, like, promoting diversity and wanting to erase the white race or something like that. No, I believe in diversity of thought. I don't care what race you are. How will culture flourish if you don't have smart, intelligent people making smart, intelligent exchanges like this? So no, I don't agree with the left that diversity is our greatest strength. I don't believe that at all. If you want to put it into a sentence, like, I believe that difference in experience makes a way better society, because not only do people have the different experiences, hopefully that they're smart enough to exchange and create technologies and create art and create literature and flourish in society. But that doesn't mean that they have to be different colors of the rainbow. I didn't say that, and okay, I can understand that because this was the first video of mine that you've seen, you might make all these assumptions, but you keep telling me that I don't know, but then you don't know anything about what I believe. And if you looked at my channel, you would see that there are, 13 other videos about me disagreeing with leftist culture. So, yeah.
believe in it give when asked, how are you even going to make this happen?
All right, so now we talk about the implementation of an ethnostate.
This segment of your video is what I was looking for. What you're talking about, the implementation that would happen to create a successful ethnostate. And I'm sure I agree with you.
Let's say America became an ethnostate. How on earth
Okay, so let's say America becomes an ethnostate.
are you going to somehow send away basically people like me, people who are American and have lived here their whole lives and are of American culture, but they're not white? How on earth are you supposed to deal with that? Because
All right, so that's a fair question. So, what would happen if a certain piece of land, she takes America as an example, was to become a white ethnostate? What would you do with the minorities that are already citizens? Well, there's many responses to that. So there is a branch of the alt-right that says, and this is a statement by Tara McCarthy. So she says, first, I would ensure that those people who are temporary immigrants, that they get out eventually, that at the expiration of their visas, we don't move them into a more permanent category. We say, oh, you were here for 5 years, the 5 years done, bye-bye.
Yes, I believe that that's a great way to develop an ethnostate. Get rid of people with temporary visas. Sure, they're not citizens of this country. Yeah, send them away. That's fine. One more thing. I'm not one of those people. Thank you. Okay.
Now there's another category of immigrants, which are permanent residents, for example. So they have some right to be there. Now, some people in the alt-right say we should just get them out because they have no right for citizenship, and so we should get rid of the problem the same way we would do with temporary visas. Personally, I think that at the permanent resident level, you have committed for that person to have access to citizenship, so I wouldn't be willing to evacuate or deport people who are permanent resident.
Dude, I like you so much better already. We agree on that. We definitely agree. I actually wasn't even sure about the permanent resident question. Yeah, it's a really good point to make. Yes, because people who are permanent residents, it seems like they're making the push towards citizenship. So it's obvious that they want to be citizens of the country, and I'd like to think that citizens of the United States, to be a citizen, one, you have to go through a very rigorous process of, papers and waiting, lots and lots and lots of waiting. So I think in order to be an American citizen, you really have to want it. To legally be an American citizen, legally. I don't want illegal immigrants in my country. That's not what I want. But yeah, so as a person who is, my parents are immigrants. They emigrated here legally. They went through the citizenship process and they gained their citizenship years and years ago. So yeah, I mean, we're in agreement. Absolutely.
And then the problem you raise are those people who are citizens. Personally, I would not advocate for any ethnostate that starts to racially discriminate between its own people and deprives them of rights based on race. So what you can do with minorities is simply accept that they are there. And we could simply decide that a part of America is at the current diversity level, whatever it is, maybe 55, let's say that the ethnostate happens at a time where there's 55% white, 30% Hispanics, and a certain percent of Indians, blacks, and Asians. And you could say, I'm okay with these minorities, but we're not going to get more in. So if everyone in this society was to agree, all right, we establish a society here, and we will respect each other's rights, but we will not be welcoming floods of immigrants. The next wave of refugees that comes to knock to our door, we will answer, sorry, we can't take you. Bye-bye. Now, that's a solution that I personally favor. Some people go a little further and they say, for example, Tara McCarthy says, we could give incentives. We could say, hey, if you leave the country, we're going to give you X $1,000. And the argument here is that there is a cost for societies to maintain minorities in it. And so we could save money actually by sending out people of some minorities to other countries. And if they were to accept voluntarily, that would be done without violence. And whoever remains within the country, we could just accept it. And that would not be a problem. Now, there is also another theory, which has been presented by Richard Spencer, for example, during the Sargon-Spencer debate on Warski Live. Spencer says, I think that we should divide America and actually create ethnostates, not only for whites, but also for people who want to be multicultural and people who want to be in a black ethnostate, for example. And so that's the view of a form of agreed upon racial segregation that people would voluntarily adhere to, and everyone would have a place to go in the broken up America. So those are possibilities. And if you believe that culture is as important as you think it is, I don't see why you would have a problem with a bunch of white people saying, okay, we're going to get Vermont, and a bunch of multicultural mixed race people saying we want half of America, and maybe a bunch of black people saying we want California. These are developments that could happen, and there could be, because people naturally segregate on race already. They reproduce together based on race. They choose partner, they choose co-workers based on race already naturally. It's not a long shot to believe that the creation of multiple ethnostates from the US could occur and could be voluntarily adhered to by people. And again, if there are some people disagreeing, they might have rights to stay, just like the Native Americans had rights to stay in the US after they survived the invasions of Europeans of North America. And there might be people who say, okay, I'm black, I'm on the theory of the white ethnostates, but I want to stay here. All right, what I would do is, you can stay here. But we want to be bringing in immigration waves from your people until we disappear. So you can stay here, you're a citizen, you have your rights, but there won't be more of you coming from other countries.
Parfait. Vraiment. Parfait. We're definitely on the same page. Absolutely. It sucks that it had to get to, half an hour in before it's obvious that we agree about stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I almost wish, like, you did a little bit more research into me before putting me on your channel, because I'm just gonna say, like, a lot of attack dogs. I mean, like, there was just a lot of, because there was a lot of assumption, people took those assumptions and then, like, doubled it into saying, oh, you don't like white people, you're not an American citizen, all of that stuff. So it's like, moral of the story, I think you should just do research on a person that, you're featuring. And that's no disrespect to you, but it's just like, it made it so much harder to prove my point. I saw the comments and I started actually answering to, like, I tried to get through as many as I could. I wanted to answer, like, all 350 comments or however much there was. I wanted to thank people for watching and also tell people who thought that I was some, like, weird leftist, I don't know, Marxist or something like that. No, that's not what I am. And it's just, man, I'm kind of pissed about that, because if you had done your research, you wouldn't have assumed all these things about me, and I wouldn't have people on my fucking video telling me, like, I'm a shitskin. So, I mean, I probably would have that anyway, but it didn't really help my cause that you didn't do any research into me. Just saying. So I've thought about this idea. Yeah. If it works in other countries, I don't really see why that wouldn't work here, especially if everyone got to preserve their rights and nobody was stepping on each other's toes and everything was agreed upon. Yeah, I would say that would probably work. I mean, one could say that, like, I guess you could say, like, Europe is kind of like that, or, like, was like that at one point, because I mean, I don't, maybe Europe isn't exactly a good example. Australia, in a way, I guess, if you want to think about it. Like, the Aboriginals have their pieces of land. They have basically the entirety of the center of Australia. Other people live on the coastlines. So it's not really separated into ethnicity or anything, but it is like, this is where the natives live, and then this is where everybody else lives. I don't know if there are any official lines for that or anything. I'm sure there are, but it seems like the de facto thing is that if you migrate to Australia, you're probably going to be living on the coast. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really see why that wouldn't work. That's fair. Totally. I would have no problems with that. Yeah, and so, yes, I'm of the belief that I don't think multicultural society really has to exist in order for something to flourish. I think that, yes, if every group has their own state, then that would mean that ideas and resources and, everything could still be exchanged. But hey, you're over there and I'm over here, and we both have our rights, and yeah, things are great, and we can reproduce, and we'll be preserving all of our races and ethnicities and whatever. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with that at all. Yeah, I mean, yeah, so I don't really believe in accepting refugees, because I mean, you look at Europe, like, we can all see what's happening with that. Oh, that's the other thing. a bunch of people like trying to explain multiculturalism and cultural Marxism to me, and I was like, I know what all of this is. I'm very much aware. I've seen Europe. Like, it's okay, I guess, that you made these assumptions, but I'm clearing all that up right now. No more of that. Yes, I don't believe that refugees, I mean, really, like I said before, refugees need us. We don't need them. So yes, in order to establish an ethnostate, yes, you shouldn't be accepting refugees. It's not in the best interest of the government or the people. So yeah, I had never actually thought about an incentive to, send people somewhere else. That's interesting. I've seen it used for other reasons, like preserving wildlife and stuff like that. In certain places, the government will give money to certain people who are in a certain animal's habitat. So instead of, the whole, I mean, this is kind of a tangent, but I think it actually was a tiger. So like tigers need like a lot of room to roam around and stuff like that. Unfortunately, there were people inhabiting the land that the tiger kind of was in. So people would come into contact with the tiger, and I'm pretty sure, like, over time the tiger population dwindled. So now that the government, this is in India, by the way. It's just because I watched freaking BBC documentary. But because of that, they gave people an incentive to move out of the tiger's habitat, so that way the tiger can roam freely and establish itself and mate and have offspring, and the tiger population could increase, and the welfare of both parties is totally taken care of. Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like if it can work with a tiger, it could probably work with people, especially people who don't hold any claim to this land that you're, asking them to leave. So just like how those people in those villages don't really have a claim to the land that they're living on, they're just kind of living there, and it's really the tiger's habitat. Yeah, they would leave if given the right amount of money. Obviously, that's a really positive outcome. Yeah, totally. I'm on board. And I guess let me clarify. I was passionate about it because like I said, it seemed like nobody had the concrete answer to these questions, or if they did, it didn't seem like they were actually presenting them on like on a base level like this, where it's like very easily you presented 3 scenarios that I completely agree with. So yeah, I mean, we're on the same page. And I'm sorry if I seemed emotional. I'm just an expressive person. I move my eyes all the time. I know there were people who were telling me that I had like shifty eyes or something like that, and because of that I was lying or some bullshit. No, I just move my eyes a lot. I have big eyes, and yeah. Anyway. I would really love to discuss like what would happen. Like, what do you think would happen? Yeah, it's a really cool discussion and something I think we should talk about.
Now, other options are the living on a territory that is not occupied. So there could be territories on this planet that are not occupied right now, or that in the future could become unoccupied. There could be wars that lead to many people dying, or viruses that leads to so many people dying that there's literally state-sized parcels of lands that are totally unoccupied. In that case, what would happen is that people would get together, form a group, and go there. For example, Antarctica is one place that is currently unoccupied. It's pretty cold out there, but who knows, with the planet heating, it may become very pleasant to habitate. And there might be other events in our history that will free some parcels of lands. And if so, then the parcels of lands could be claimed by free people, all white people that would get together, agree on whatever social contract they want to agree on, and form a new state. That's another possibility. So you have 4 possibilities, and I'd like to hear from you. That's my question to you, Brownie Wife Opinions. Had you ever heard about these opportunities? And do you agree that some of these opportunities open doors for non-violent formations of ethnostate?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I just spent the last like 20 minutes talking about that, I think. Yeah, man. We're totally on the same page. Yeah, I like you guys a lot more now. Maybe not like, you know, the assholes who aren't in belief of that. They seem to whatever. Ignore them. That's not even relevant. What you were saying? Yeah, like I said, totally on board. I mean, ideally, I would love if that didn't happen. Like I said, although I believe in, yes, societies could be separate and that way they would probably flourish better. I don't want people to disappear completely or like move super far away from where they're from or something like that. Like, no, I don't want anybody to be displaced, least of all white people. I mean, no, I hope that doesn't ever happen. And I hope that anybody who wants to establish an ethnostate, like, I don't want that to happen to anybody. Because that sounds really difficult. And that sounds like it sucks, and it sounds like the world is in a shitstorm. So, yeah, I hope that doesn't happen. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but yeah, I hope.
Imagine you're a minority living in Vermont and your family gets killed and your house gets destroyed, and it happens all the time and generations after generation because you're stuck in such a state of civil war or military intervention that you don't have rights anymore. Imagine if you were to see a bunch of white people instaurating a new and safe environment for you. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't you accept to be a minority within the ethnostate if that was the situation?
Of course I would. Absolutely. If that's another question for me, yeah, I mean, and yes, of course. I almost feel like I don't really even need to analyze the rest of this video because we're on the same page. I'm sorry that it seemed like we weren't, but we totally are.
I just listed a total of 6 ways in which it can happen.
Yeah, man, you did. Thank you. And I agree with all those ways, like I just said.
It wouldn't be peaceful, because how can it be? You're forcing people who have always had a right to be somewhere to go somewhere else.
Oh no, we're not necessarily forcing people. In the scenarios I've presented, there are many scenarios where there's no one to force out. It's people freely establishing on a piece of land. Now, if we were forcing people, I personally do not support a violent establishment of an ethnostate. So here's one example of someone who does not support that kind of violence.
Man, we're friends now. Yeah. I mean, me either. So, yeah. Yeah, mon ami. Nous sommes amis maintenant. Alors, c'est bien. C'est tout.
Even though that there are people like him and let's say like Richard Spencer who are very well spoken and who are very educated, they don't seem to know they don't seem to be able to perceive the reality of what would actually happen if they tried to build an ethnostate.
I'm sorry that I complimented you and then I immediately insulted you. I do apologize. I don't disagree. I almost just want to end it here because it's like we just agree and shit. Like, I mean, I almost don't have much else to say. I have refuted everything else that you've said in the beginning of the video, and that's because we just misunderstood each other, very obviously. So, yes, of course, it's not just you misunderstanding me. I definitely misunderstood you because I never heard your personal, 6 options, which I completely agree with. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't consider myself I don't consider myself part of the alt-right or anything. But I do believe in preserving culture, and if that means shutting your doors to other people, I believe that that's a really great thing to do. And that's why I think so many cultures, this is exactly why so many cultures have prevailed to the present moment, is because they worked on self-preservation. All the cultures that we all really enjoy and think are really cool, Japanese culture, Korean culture, any other culture, really. Any culture that you think is cool, like Colombian culture or Spanish culture or French culture. Yes, they all worked on self-preservation. And it sucks that today, like in today's world, people don't seem to be interested in self-preservation. And the second that you say that you're interested in it, oh, you're a racist, you hate X group, you hate everybody who's not like you. No, I don't. And I'm pretty sure, JF, you don't. I think we're in agreement. And I know that there are people who do think that way. But I'm not really worried about them. Because there will always be racists or, on either side, whatever. There are always people with ideas that we disagree with. It's fine. But, no, as far as you, I completely agree. I do. Yes, I wish that countries in today's world cared a little bit more about self-preservation. Actually, is it any freaking secret that Europe is just going to be like a melange of everything, and everyone's just either going to be brown or gray, or I don't know. And it makes me really sad, because like I said, of how I appreciate certain cultures. J'aime la France. J'ai étudié le français parce que je l'aime beaucoup. Je sais pas. Yeah, I mean, there's an example right there. And if things continue to keep happening the way that they do, maybe there's not going to be French anymore. And as someone who, let me tell you, my passion is languages. My passion is culture and languages, mostly languages. I can speak French. I speak English, very obviously. I can speak, read and write in English, French, Hindi, Korean, and like a little bit of Japanese. I'd love to learn more languages, and I just feel sad that if I went to France right now and saw the state that it was in, I'd probably burst into tears, honestly, because who's looking out for these people? Someone needs to look out for the French people. And I am a huge advocate of, no, take care of your own people. Don't take care of people who are not going to contribute to your society. They're going to ruin it. I think many of us are in agreement. And I just want to put this out there. My boyfriend is of the exact same thought. I mean, he thinks exactly like I do. We've talked about this extensively. That's why I made that video. That's why I'm making this video. That's why I feel confident enough to talk about this, because no, we want everyone to preserve their own cultures. And yes, that means separating everybody, and that's okay. If it means that French culture and Japanese culture and Korean culture and whatever culture can, survive another 100 or 1,000 years or something like that, that would be awesome. The Roman Empire fell because of a difference in cultures. So yeah, because they opened their doors to anybody, that's why it fell. And I just don't want that to happen to Europe. It's an amazing place. I don't want that to happen to the United States. I don't want that to happen to anywhere, but it's like this fucking Marxist monster that comes out and just consumes everything around it, and then for some reason people can't seem to see that. And I don't know, it's very hard, because for what I'm saying, most people who I maybe grew up with, or like I don't know, my peers, because I'm saying this, they might think that I'm a racist. which I would think I'm highly the opposite, because if I didn't like another race so much, why would I be promoting its survival and its protection even if I'm not part of it? Like, anyway.
In all in so many places of this globe, and overpopulation and famine, it's very likely that whoever starts a white ethnostate on this planet will not be the starter of violence. That person will be the person trying to protect himself from an ongoing and existing state of violence. Let me present some scenarios here. We know that Canada is increasing its Muslim population at an alarming rate. The current immigration policy of Canada will most likely lead to a Muslim Canadian majority within the next 500 years. And a lot of people are complaining and they say, Jeff, why do you say 500? I've made the calculations, it's 200. Yes, it could be in 200 years. That's why I use the word at most 500 or 1,000 years. But yes, it could happen much faster. And in fact, I believe it will probably happen much faster. So imagine an Islamist Canadian country. Imagine France being Islamic. Imagine democratic countries that have acquired the nuclear weapon becoming Islamic, becoming controlled by Muslims. The future does not look good for the enemy of the Muslim people. And one of the enemies of the Muslim people are the US. And so if you can recognize that the US will be bordered by a northern neighbor that will be Islamic and hostile to its existence, if you can recognize that within probably your lifetime, there will be multiple states, multiple Muslim-controlled states acquiring nuclear weapon, if you can agree that the Muslim population is increasing on this planet and hating Americans and hating Israel, can you conceive the possibility that America could one day be destabilized by a war, potentially between Muslims and the US?
Yeah, that's terrifying. Someone should do something about that. I think about that all the time because it's not a secret that that's what's happening. Yeah, no, I'm very much aware of what could happen. And I hope that if any of that happened, we would be these ideas that, we've kind of discussed, the things that we agree upon, I hope that those can actually be implemented. No, I don't want to live in a Muslim society. I'm tired of people pushing like the niqab or the hijab or the burqa as symbols of freedom or like choice or something like that. No, it's a symbol of punishment and like slavery to a religion. I don't believe in that in the slightest. So yeah, that scares the shit out of me. And it almost feels like the American government, minus the president, seem to be okay with that. Fuck no, man. I don't want to be a part of that. And I always pray that won't happen in my lifetime. Like, I always tell my boyfriend, live until you can't live anymore. Like, until you just can't. Well, I want to live in a nice place where I own things and get to be a citizen and have my own personal liberties. So that doesn't mean being part of an Islamic society. Jeff, why? I get it, but like, why'd you have to pause the videos when my face was the most stupid? God. Thank you for that. Got to see myself in a whole new light. It's great. So, okay, I've basically, I've gone through the whole video by myself. I think I'm just going to end it there because I feel like we've, at least I have clarified what I mean, what I believe in, and the fact that we obviously agree. Yeah, we agree, and that's good. My debate wouldn't really be with you because we seem to have the same ideas, but somebody who, I don't know if I could see debating somebody in the future. perfect. Then I'm good, really. You've basically answered all my questions, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, I don't really think we have any problems. If there are any questions that you have for me that maybe you think that I would disagree with, or like, just any talking points, like, please feel free to ask me, because like I said, I'm really interested in this topic and I really like talking about it. So, yeah.
Boyfriend has the same problem. He's half black and half white. So which side
Ah, she has a boyfriend.
can he be on? Is he going to be considered a minority, or is he going to be considered white? Because if you look at him, he doesn't look white. So
Again, Simon, sorry for your boyfriend. Personally, I would maintain him on the territory. I don't want to cause violence. I'm against the establishment of violence for ethnostate.
And that's okay, because no one is responsible for me except me. So I'm fine with that. I mean, you're not my responsibility, so I'm not yours either. And that wasn't really, my question. I was just, I've already stated what my question is. I'm just talking at this point.
Now, there are also other responses. There are people who, like Tara McCarthy, who would offer you a plane ticket back to another country, and they would be encouraging you monetarily. So she would probably be sending you a letter saying, look, we're giving you $10,000 if you go out. Would you do it? Then it's your choice. Ultimately, she will be bound by your answer to the question. So either you accept the money and you leave, or you stay and you have citizens' rights.
I mean, I personally don't really want to entertain that idea of like being given money to leave the country that I'm from. So no, I don't believe that anybody who is an actual citizen of a country should be forced to go anywhere. I believe that, just like you said, it's, yeah. Okay, so I brought up the point, is my existence as a person of non-white skin impeding somebody else? So I understand what you're saying, and I agree, because yes, it depends on the scenario that you choose, as far as the things that you mentioned earlier. So let's say there's a white ethnostate, and the whole thing is that, okay, this is specifically for the preservation of white people. Yeah, I wouldn't feel that I belonged there. I don't believe that you should be responsible for me or my well-being, because that's not the object of, that I'm not of any concern to you, because that's fine. That's how it's supposed to be. I would go wherever, my best interests are being looked out for. But I understand the idea that if I was in a white ethnostate, I would be taking the place of somebody who could be there. So I understand that. Basically what you're saying, yes, I mean, we all face the same exact thing in the United States right now. Our money, our taxpayer money, is going to people who, there are lots of people who don't need to be on welfare. There are people who depend on the welfare state and the taxes that we pay so that they don't have to get jobs and continue leeching off the government. No, we're on the same page. I don't believe in that. I think that's horrible, and I'd like my money back, thank you. JF, so yeah, like I just said, yeah, if there were people around me who were voting against my best interest, yeah, I wouldn't like that. So and yes, we acknowledge that a lot of immigrants and migrants and whomever, their voting policies are very different, and they tend to be more conservative, I guess. Like, in a lot of ways, there are people who are very much against abortion or something like that, or very much against the use of birth control for females. Yeah, no, I wouldn't want that in my I wouldn't want to be somewhere where the voting policies would be affecting me negatively. And I'm kind of in that situation right now. So I'm from Maryland, which is like a very blue, liberal, democratic state, obviously. I currently live in Missouri, and it's just weird because the so I live in a city in Missouri. I live in St. Louis. So the policies and voting habits of the city are very different than the state of Missouri. So that's kind of weird. Like we live in this weird little bubble of yeah, I don't really feel like my best interests are being looked out for or anything. Yeah. But then if I went back to Maryland, would it really be any different? That's something that I need to think about. I don't think I would be able to live anywhere else except the United States, but at this point it would probably have to be somewhere like kind of remote and somewhere where my liberties weren't really being infringed upon, because at this point, I mean, like we're surrounded by people who want us to stop talking about these issues or want us to be silenced or all that other garbage, and I don't believe in any of that, obviously. Yeah, no, that's not what I want at all. So yeah, I mean, I have to really think about it as to where I would go. So yeah, I know where I would fit in. And it just totally depends on the scenario. But since we've talked about the different scenarios that could be implemented, then that's fine. I'm good with that. And then we'll just have to see in the future exactly where both of us would fit in. Yeah.
And if the ethnostate is established where you don't live, you would have to convince the white people who gather together that you are worthy of living there. And honestly, I personally wouldn't oppose to you being in the plane. I wouldn't. You look like an intelligent person, very empathic, very caring, and very careful, and very honest in your engagement, the way you speak. So I would be the last person to say you can't go on the plane. But the people who gather may also think that Quebecois people shouldn't be on the plane. And to that, all I could say is, all right, too bad. You guys make your ethnostate without Quebecois people. And maybe they'll make an ethnostate without you. And it's not dramatic, to be honest. It's what goes on again and again in history. How many countries have seen the day without your permission? So many.
I'm not really part of any culture because I'm a mix of two. So where the hell do I fit in?
Thank you. That's so nice. Oh. No, that is super nice though. Yeah, man, I'd be fine with you being on my plane too if I ever had a plane. I'm trying to make like an Air India joke or something. No one wants to fly Air India. But yeah, thanks. Actually, that's an interesting point to bring up. I don't know a lot about Quebec, but aren't you guys like kind of like an ethnostate in itself as far as like the French Canadian culture? I mean, the observation that you don't sound like somebody from Toronto. Yeah, it's interesting. So I'd really like to talk about that. I mean, if we could discuss that. Oh God, no. No, I'm not trying to be dramatic. I suppose the dramatic reaction I had was probably just well, I don't know. I mean, you're presenting an argument. I figured that one should be very emote a lot when you speak about your beliefs. That's what I believe, but whatever. So no, I know it's not dramatic. I know that it's happened thousands of times in history. I'm very, very interested in history, and I'd like to say that I'm quite well versed in some of it. So yeah, no, I'm very understanding of that. And like I said, like the Roman Empire never would have fell if it would have just been kept an ethnostate. So
I'm not really part of any culture because I'm a mix of two. So where the hell do I fit in?
You probably fit in pretty much in India, and you seem to be fitting pretty well in America too. So if you enjoy multiculturalism in America, there's probably always going to be a multicultural part of America. There's just too many people from minorities in America to think that the entire America will ever become an ethnostate. So there will always be a place for you.
So someone please let me know. Also, let me know what your thoughts on an ethnostate are. I would love to have this discussion. It's a really, really interesting discussion. It's a really heated one, and that's why it's probably so entertaining to think about and watch. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I really hope that somehow this video gets to the right people, this somehow gets to Richard Spencer, or I don't know, someone, JF, like...
Bud. Hey. I wouldn't fit in India. I know that for a fact, and I have no desire to be there because, like we talked about before, their main concerns are not me. The things that I believe in and the things that I say, the things that I do, the things that I want are not things that India really wants. So, no, I wouldn't belong there. I'd be right here, where I am from. No, I mean, we talked about the scenarios, so no, I don't believe in multiculturalism. I don't think that it's a good idea, so. Why are you laughing at me?
A really heated one, and that's why it's probably so entertaining to think about and watch. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I really hope that somehow this video gets to the right people, this somehow gets to Richard Spencer, or I don't know, someone, JF, like...
Oh, it got to JF. It's like she made a wish, and I just granted her a wish, like the genie out of the bottle. It's like this little cancerous child that really likes Justin Timberlake, and he's about to die, and Justin Timberlake comes in the room, and it's so beautiful. Except it's JF. And he's telling you how he's going to create a society without you.
Please, just answer my questions. I'm frustrated and...
She has genuine emotions there. She has almost tears in her eyes. She's really put in a state of distress by these questions. But I want you to know, what's her name? Brownie Wife Opinion? That's a weird name, by the way. So Brownie Wife Opinion. I want you to know that there's no one aggressively going over where you live and starting an ethnostate against your consent. The situations in which the ethnostate will develop are either so voluntarily that you shouldn't care about it at all, like white people packing their luggage and bye-bye, going to a place that you wouldn't care living, or it's going to happen in such a state of violence that you'll be on the street yelling, "White people, come and save me, come and establish an ethnostate above me, please. I will do whatever you want." So you don't have to care either way. Either it will happen in a way that you won't care about at all, or it will happen in a way that you'd actually want the ethnostate, because it will happen in such a state of chaos and military invasions that the ethnostate will look to you like the best solution to get out of there. So don't worry, human beings, they're still very good, and there's no one who has advantage in hurting you. So don't be afraid. And in fact, I would encourage you, get into the discussion. This video that you did is one example of you getting into the discussion. I love it. And I say to all my audience who listened to me up to now, go like our video.
I'm a cancerous... I'm trying to think of what to say. Okay. I'm fine with the comparison to being a cancerous child. Justin Timberlake. No. Ever. Why would you pick him? Out of every freaking celebrity you could think of, why'd you pick Justin Timberlake? Actually, I'd have to think about that. If I was ever dying, who would I want to meet? I don't know. Yeah, laugh it up. That's fine. Except that you already said that I'd be on the plane anyway, so, it's cool. It's fine. Can't even remember my fucking name. Yeah, well, you're weird.
So don't worry, human beings, they're still very good, and there's no one who has advantage in hurting you. So don't be afraid. And in fact, I will encourage you, get into the discussion. This video that you did is one example of you getting into the discussion. I love it. And I say to all my audience who listen to me up to now, go like our video. This girl is engaging with a true, honest dialogue with us. I find it amazing. And Brownie Wife Opinion, you are welcome anytime in my ethnostate. Bye-bye.
And here I am. Oh God, what did I get myself into? Oh, this is going a lot better than I actually thought. No, this is fun. I like this. This is a good discussion to have, and seems like I feel like I'm much more secure in my opinions, because it doesn't feel like I'm fighting a tidal wave of like opposition or anything. It seems like we're very much on the same page, and I mean, I don't know what other, talking heads of like proponents of an ethnostate, I don't really know what they think. I'm sure there are people with varying opinions. You mentioned Tara McCarthy. Yeah, I mean, I would consider myself a pretty centrist person. I would consider myself a very libertarian person. I don't believe anybody is responsible for anybody else, so yeah. By the way, I love the dubstep outro. I feel like I'm in 2013 again. It's great. So I think that's about all. I think I answered JF's questions, and I definitely agree that he answered mine. No, this was a really cool discussion. It's more of just like a response to one another, I suppose. But no, it's super, super cool. And yeah, I'd love to be a part of it, actually. I think I would be able to present my arguments in a much better way, now that I'm understanding more where you are coming from. So yeah, no, this would be really cool to do again. So hit me up. Actually, I had prepared this whole like French speech where I was gonna say a lot of things. Yeah, no, I don't need to say any of it. Yeah, alright. Thank you to everybody who decided to stay and watch this incredibly long video. But I think this is going to be cool. So, okay, I will see you next time.